What if I told you the secret to true transformation has nothing to do with discipline alone and everything to do with a spiritual awakening that actually rewires your identity? Most men are trapped in a vicious cycle that I call PMS. PMS stands for pain, medicate, followed by shame. Something triggers pain, stress at work, conflict at home, feeling disconnected from your calling. So you medicate. You run to alcohol. Maybe you run to porn, food. It could even be fitness, Netflix binges. And then comes the shame. You promise yourself you'll do better tomorrow, but the cycle just repeats. I know because I've been there. At the beginning of this year, I was fat and I was bored. I slipped out of alignment with my own message. I've written books. I've launched a podcast. I started a mastermind, and I've been coaching men to break through and stack wins. But here's the truth. Your wins don't stay won. Conquering something yesterday does not carry over to today. I was turning 50 this year. So at the beginning of the year, I realized I wasn't living in alignment in one area. It had to do with my food. So I made a decision. It wasn't a resolution. It wasn't a wish, but it was a ruthless, faith-fueled decision to build, test, and live a framework that would create lasting transformation. Here's what happened over the next 8 months. I lost 65 pounds. I reached 3% body fat with no TRT, no gear, and I took first place in the Masters over 50 Classic Physique division in an NPC show. But more than that, my family life is thriving. My kids are doing amazing. I'm stacking wins at work. The clients I'm working with are getting breakthroughs. And we're doing this all by using a framework that I call the Discipline Codex. Today, I'm going to share some of the core pillars of that framework. Not the entire system, because consuming information without implementation and execution won't serve you. But I'm going to give you enough so you can get a blueprint for this year and beyond. Let's get into it. Welcome to another episode of Raising the Standard. I got to tell you, I am obsessed with transformation. Why? Because transformation is the goal of the Christian life. Living things are meant to grow. We see this in the natural. It's also in the spiritual. It's God's design, the unleashing of potential. Every living thing carries potential to come into its full expression, its full maturity, and its full level of growth. The springing up of new life, out with the old, in with the new. Even our cells transform and renew themselves day by day. So in Romans 12:2, the Apostle Paul says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. This is a picture of transformation, and it's not optional for a kingdom man. It's mandatory. But here's what most men miss. True transformation happens in the spiritual realm first. If it doesn't, it's just behavior modification. And behavior modification always fades. You can white knuckle your way through a diet. You can force yourself to wake up early. You can grind and hustle your way to a promotion, but without a spiritual foundation, it won't last. That's why I built the Discipline Codex, a framework that merges neuroscience with kingdom principles embedded in God's word. I had a chance to test this framework at an Iron Sharpens Iron conference earlier this year. I went out to Springfield, Missouri. I was able to teach this to a room that was packed to standing room only. My breakout session had over 100 guys in it, and I rolled this out for the very first time. The feedback was electric, but I couldn't teach it. I couldn't bring it to the public and to my platform on a wider basis until I lived it. So I spent the last 8 months putting every principle in this framework to test in my own life and in the lives of the guys that I work with, my body, my family, my faith, my work. And now I'm fully aligned and I'm ready to equip you. So what I'm going to do is break down some of the core pillars. You're not going to get all of them right now, but I'm going to give you some of them. And it's what I've used to accomplish a transformation at age 50. And I'm going to show you how you can apply them to any area of your life in 2025 and beyond. So let's get into it with number one. Transformation without vision is just activity. At the beginning of this year, I didn't just set a goal to get in shape. I defined what I call a GDV. A GDV is a God-driven vision, and mine was about the next decade of my life. I didn't care about a bodybuilding show. I didn't care about getting in shape once and then letting it fade and bouncing back up in weight. I was in this thinking in decades. I wanted to set the trajectory at age 50 for what the next 10 years were going to look like in my life. And I brought that to the Lord. I asked God, what do you want my next 10 years to look like? And that question shifted everything for me. It moved me from short-term thinking to long-term kingdom thinking. What is my assignment? How do I align my energy management? What do I need to change in my daily decisions, activities, the way I'm managing my body, what I'm storing, and able to fulfill the GDV that I believe is on my life and the mandate that's on my life. And by the way, every single person listening, every man listening to me, you have an assignment and a mandate on your life as well. And it's your duty to discover that and walk out that purpose. So the first thing is the GDV. You must have a God-driven vision. This is different than just a vision board exercise. It's different than just defining your own vision for your life. It's really a picture of partnering with God and discovering, where is he pulling you? Where is he calling you to take dominion in your life? And what's that look like to co-labor and set a vision together with God so you can be driven by the vision he hands you? So I got a coaching question for you on this one. I want to ask you, what's your GDV for the next decade? Not just your next goal, but the trajectory for your life. If God's calling you forward, and he is, what's that going to look like for the next 10 years for you? I want you to write it down. I want you to pray over it and start filtering every decision you're making through the lens of that GDV. Okay, I'm going to give you the second one here. It's long-term thinking, no shortcuts, no cheap dopamine. And what I mean by that is we live in a culture addicted to instant gratification. But here's the thing. True transformation takes time. I knew at the beginning of this year, I was going to have to front load a lot of work because I was way out of shape. I was 247, one of the highest weights I've ever seen on the scale. I let myself go on the eating side. I was still training hard. I looked big. I looked bulky. I was strong, but I was carrying the spare tire around my waist. So I knew it was going to take 8 months or maybe even longer. I dedicated this year to, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life. And then I'm going to be able to maintain it and sustain it with less effort. But I knew this year I'd be front loading a lot of effort into this goal. And what I learned is that I embraced the journey over the outcome. It wasn't just about getting to that final destination. It was about falling in love with the journey and installing daily disciplines that would guide every daily choice. No quick fixes, no hype, no hacks, no magic pills, just daily obedience, daily discipline, and daily alignment. Proverbs 13:11 says, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. It is the same for transformation. We see this long-term approach, long-term thinking, consistent daily action in that proverb, and it applies to so many areas of our life, including changing anything you want to change in your life. So here's my coaching question for you. Where are you chasing shortcuts right now? Where are you looking for a quick fix instead of embracing the long game? What would change if you committed to 10 years of being consistent at something versus 10 days of motivation? See, the thing with motivation is we wait for a wave of motivation to hit us and then we can run. And when motivation hits, it's strong. I suggest that if you are motivated to do something, use that as a catalyst to start and get some momentum and run after it. But eventually that motivation will fade. And that's where you have to install discipline to keep things going. So it's always discipline over motivation, but motivation's great to start. All right. Number 3, the next thing I want to give you is a game changer. I call it the identity upgrade. Here's the thing. You can't outperform your identity. Most men are trying to change their behavior, but they're never upgrading their identity. But you will always act in alignment with who you believe you are and how you see yourself. At the beginning of the year, I was fat and I was bored. I was making excuses. I found myself negotiating with myself. I'll get it back on Monday. It's okay if I go out this weekend. If I have this extra, whatever the item was that I wanted to eat or indulge in that brought me some level of pleasure, instant gratification. And I convinced myself I'm only 2 weeks away from getting in shape. And sometimes that's a lie we tell ourselves on repeat, that I can get this back quick at any time I want. I can get back on my routine and I can pull it back together. And that's what I was believing. And it ended up creating a cycle in my life where I was getting in shape and then I'd let it go. And then I tell myself in 2 weeks, I can pick it back up again. And I would do it for about 2 weeks. And then my diet would slip again. I was still training, but I wasn't controlling my food. So now I'm going to tell you about the identity shift that changed everything. At the beginning of the year, I enrolled in a transformation contest at my local gym. I started working with someone who's now become a friend. He was my trainer. He's an IFBB pro bodybuilder. Bobby Cardellemi. And Bobby, along the way in my transformation journey, he had me on a certain protocol that I was doing to lose the first, 20 or 30 pounds that I accomplished. And I came in second in that transformation contest. After that, I said, do you think I could compete? I was starting to get the bug again. I wanted to push my body to the limit. And he's like, I would love to train you for a competition. So that was my next commitment. And when I committed to that, I realized when I was reporting to him one day, I had this huge punch in the face verbally that I really needed. And I went and I checked in with him. And I said, Bobby, I had a great week. Didn't miss a workout, got all my meals in, and I had no cheats. And when I said that, he looked at me and he said, what do you mean, no cheats? You're in prep. And when he said that, it hit me like a punch in the face. I was just like, I'm in prep. And at that moment, I flipped a switch within myself and I started defining myself as an athlete that's in prep. And I said to myself, I'm an athlete and I'm in prep. And I'm going to take on this entirely new mindset. I'm going to let it guide my daily decisions, my actions, my daily disciplines. And that's what I did. That was the mindset upgrade I needed to get me through the next couple months in preparation to compete on a bodybuilding stage. So in that moment, I took on the mindset of an athlete. So here's the coaching question for you. What identity are you operating from right now? Is it a victim? Do you make excuses? Are you negotiating with yourself? Are you telling yourself, well, this is why I can't do that? Well, yeah, if I had more time, if only this. If you find yourself saying if only, that is telltale victim language. Are you acting like a warrior? Are you acting like a leader? How would you act differently if you upgraded your identity today? All right, number 4, I want to talk about decision, commitment, and really what that means is cutting off other options. The word decide, if you look at the root word, the etymology of the word, it literally means to cut off other options. You're killing other options that you could take and you're finding one path and you're deciding to go after that. Every transformation starts with a decision, not a wish, not a maybe, not a someday, but a ruthless, irreversible, committed decision. This type of action will take your one-day daydream and turn it into day one. Decisions are based on beliefs and your beliefs shape your identity. So when I made the decision to get into the best shape of my life, I cut off every other option. No more negotiating with myself, no more playing the victim, no more excuses. Commitment means you stop entertaining old ways of thinking, the way you used to do it, the way you used to act, and you embrace an entirely new mindset. So here's my coaching question around this for you. What decision have you been avoiding? What would it look like to fully commit and cut off every other option in that area of life that you know you need to grow in and that you need to transform in? Okay, number 5 is your environment and getting coaching and getting support and getting accountability. And when I talk about environment, I'm talking about upgrading your circle. You will never outgrow your environment. And this is a biblical principle. We see this all through the Bible. When Jesus calls 12 men, he places them into a new environment. When he starts the church, he creates a new community. It's a new environment that you're called to live in and live out of. And this principle applies regardless of the choice you make for transformation. So for me at the beginning of the year, it was getting in the best shape of my life. So that meant I had to get into a new environment with new energy, new accountability, and new support. And that meant for me joining a new gym. So I switched gyms. I surrounded myself with competitors and athletes and energy in a new environment, a new gym where there was much more intensity in the atmosphere. That environment gave me accountability. It gave me focus. It gave me energy. I mentioned I joined a transformation contest. So I hired a coach. I had someone that could support me, that could guide me, and that I had to check in with weekly. So if I was thinking about messing up on my diet, I knew I would have to tell the truth at the end of the week. I knew I was going to have to send an accountability picture and an update. And that kept me from making mistakes or doing something that went back to my old habits. I also built a brotherhood of men around me that knew my goal. I didn't share my goal publicly with everyone, but I shared it with a few committed men that I walk with, and they sharpened me. They held me to account, and we supported each other throughout this process. Proverbs 27:17. It is more than a bumper sticker. It's more than a t-shirt. It's more than a slogan at your local men's meeting. Iron sharpening iron is a place where you challenge each other, where there's accountability, and where sparks are flying. It's not this nice little platitude. It's something that paints a vivid picture of challenge, support, accountability, and literally sharpening iron, which only happens in close proximity. So here's my coaching question for you. Who's in your circle? Are they sharpening you or are they dulling your edge? What environment do you need to step into to reach your next level? And if you don't have that, check the links below, because I'm building an environment where men can be sharpened, get the support they need, and be held accountable in the areas that matter most when it comes to building their faith, number one, also their fitness and their family. All right, here's the next one. Embrace being uncomfortable, which means you have to get out of your comfort zone, because growth only happens outside of your comfort zone. Listen, throughout this process over the last 8 months, I got super uncomfortable. This entire ordeal and transformation stretched me beyond where I felt comfortable. I thought I already was uncomfortable when I made the commitment to get into my best shape. I thought I already was uncomfortable when I said I'm going to do a bodybuilding show. I had to follow through on things that I'm just like, all right, what difference does it make now? I might as well keep going. I'm going to get up in posing trunks on a stage in front of hundreds of people. I'm going to take before pictures. I'm going to show these before pictures. I'm going to show my after pictures. All of it was uncomfortable. Putting myself out on social media, even sharing the results I got. There's still a little vulnerability to even show you guys what I look like at the beginning of this. I was embarrassed about it. I'm still not happy with it, but I am extremely satisfied of what I did over the last 8 months. So it's my duty to share it with you. It's my responsibility, because I want to show you what's possible. But every single one of those things that I did, entering a transformation contest at the beginning of the year, when I walked into the gym at one of my heaviest weights, not comfortable. Knowing I would have to do before pictures in the gym with people that I'm going to see day after day, not comfortable. Checking in with my coach week after week, sending him pictures, not comfortable. Every single one of those things I did, plus more, pushed me out of my comfort zone. But that is where the real growth happened in my life. If you're comfortable, you're not growing. You need to challenge yourself. You need to do things that move you out. And I'll tell you what, guys, it will make you come alive. Most of you guys are like where I was at the beginning of the year. You're fat and bored. And maybe you're not physically overweight, but you're fat in your mentality. You're fat in comfort. You're fat with goods and merchandise and a consumer mentality. And you're sitting on a comfortable couch and you're in an air-conditioned house, or you got the heat on now. It's the winter, and you can watch TV and you can watch the game and you can watch Netflix, and everything is super convenient. And it all adds up to this instant gratification environment that we live in, that we've been conditioned to be as consumers. And that leaves you comfortable. And I was sick of it. I had to get to the point of, I know I'm made for more than this. There's like a masculine mandate where I want to step out and I want to release the energy that God's put in me to build something, not just consume something. And if you feel that call, it's time to find that place where you walk right to the edge. You find the place. So what's the edge for you? What's the place of comfort you're living in right now that you need to step out and start taking steps into the unknown? It will be scary, but it will be worth it. Okay, last one. Embrace boring. You must learn to master the mundane. Guys, the process of transformation, it's not sexy. Same meals, same workouts, same discipline, day in, day out. Most men quit because they get bored, but mastery lives in the mundane. So where do you need to embrace consistency over chasing excitement and cheap dopamine? So here's what happened. I lost 65 pounds in the last 8 months. I reached 3% body fat with no TRT and no gear. And side note, I'm not against TRT if you need it. I just find that so many men are trying to run to a quick fix when they haven't even mastered the fundamentals and the daily discipline that it takes to get in shape. I also won first place in the Masters 50 plus Classic Physique. I took third in bodybuilding. Right now, my family is thriving. My kids are doing amazing. I'm crushing my goals at work, and my clients are stacking wins. So what did I learn about this? That process is greater than outcome. It was great to get a trophy. It felt good, but it wasn't about that for me. So it didn't really reach the excitement that I thought it might have. It was really about the journey. I fell in love with the process over the outcome. And what I'm going to give you now is a secret. Do you want to know the fastest way to build confidence in life? Do what you said you would do. Follow up. Be a man of your word. Most people think honoring your word is honoring all these commitments that you make to other people. It first starts with honoring the commitments you make to yourself. I honored my word to myself, and when I did that, I aligned with who I said I was. And that's the fastest way to build confidence. Stay in integrity with yourself. I said it, I did it. So next steps for you, I'm dropping some coaching questions right in the notes of this podcast. If you take them seriously, I believe they'll change your life. If you want to know more about the Discipline Codex, the exact formula and framework that I used to level up my fitness this year, by the way, it's first and foremost about our faith, because Jesus is everything to me, and being a disciple and following him is the number one thing. And when you get that right and you learn how to live that lifestyle with Jesus as the source of life, and not doing it reverse with behavior modification to try and be someone, try and get God's acceptance or validation, which is totally backwards. When you know who you are and you can change your identity and align with who he says you are, everything changes for you. And then what happens is you'll find that when you change the area in your faith, that the way you do that one thing spills over to every area of your life. So then it starts having an influence on the way you lead your family, on the way you lead your wife, on the way you show up in your fitness, on the way you show up in your work. And so the Discipline Codex, it's not a fitness program. It's a program. It's a framework that you can apply to any goal in your life. But first and foremost, I want to equip you to be a dangerous disciple. So if you're interested in learning more about the exact steps and the macro picture that I followed this year, you can check the comments to get the link and see if that's a good fit for you. I've also developed protocols, practices, and tools that power our lives, the guys that I work with. If you want more connection with God, favor in the marketplace, you want to experience promotion in your life, both spiritual and also in your day-to-day activities, and you want to start operating in your purpose, less chaos, less strife, less striving, and more alignment with your identity, then you can join us. Check out standard59.com for details of how to get involved with what we do here. Here's my last step for you. Share this episode. If anything I said here resonated with you, if it inspired you, if it gave you that spark of motivation, if you have another brother in your life that you're like, I know you could benefit from this. Maybe it's your workout partner. Maybe it's someone you're going to do a goal with together. You're going to accomplish something together. Share it. Ask yourselves the questions. Ask each other the questions. Sharpen the edge, and let's get after it. So in closing, transformation is the goal of the Christian life. Living things are meant to grow, and potential is meant to be unleashed. So make the decision, honor your word, upgrade your identity. Let's raise the standard together. I'm Josh Kachadorian, and this is Raising the Standard. Lead, fight, win. Hey guys, I take a lot of supplements to optimize my health, but there's been one brand that's been consistent. It's been a staple in my routine for the past 15 years, ever since I was introduced to this product called Perfect Amino. Made by Body Health, these are essential amino acids. They have a full line of supplements that I've taken over the last year that help me get into the best shape of my life. I do Bodycom Magnesium for sleep. I love their electrolyte product. I don't drink water plain anymore. It always has electrolytes added to it with essential amino acids. Check out the entire lineup at the link below. I'm going to give you a special code so you can save 20% on any product whenever you want at Body Health.